Hello, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Ryobi RY401100 40-volt brushed lawnmower. So let's get started. Starting off at the top of the handle, we have the blade control levers as well as the start button. This mower operates a little bit differently. In order to turn on, you have to press the button and hold it and then pull in the levers. Most mowers, you pull in the levers and then you press the button. So it's a little bit different. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's not horrible. Moving down the handle, we have the upper handle locking knobs and the lower handle locking knobs. Next up, we have the single point height adjustment lever. Now, originally when this mower came out, a lot of people were complaining about how it would change from whatever setting you had at down to the lowest setting because the spring that was used to hold it in place was not strong enough. I think they must have fixed this because I did not have any issue with it changing its height. And I took it over some pretty rough terrain and it stayed where it was supposed to. So I'm assuming that they fixed it. To change the height of the mower, you simply pull the lever outward and then put it into whichever slot that you wish for the desired height. The height can be adjusted from 1.5 inches up to 4 inches. Next up, we have the transparent battery cover housing. Inside the transparent battery housing, we have the battery slot, which will fit any of Ryobi's 40-volt batteries, as well as the start key or the power key, which will need to be inserted in order for the mower to turn on. The battery cover housing can be tilted all the way forward and it will stay in the open position, and it will take any size Ryobi battery. However, I would only recommend using 4 amp hours or above with any Ryobi lawnmower. Next up, we have the side discharge port, as well as its cover. When the cover is closed, the mower is in its mulching mode, and when the cover is open and the chute is attached, it is in the side discharge mode. Now, please keep in mind though, when you do have the side discharge chute attached, that it's not held in place very securely. It's held in place by 2 plastic nubs, and honestly, I can see them breaking eventually fairly easily. I personally would have preferred a better design, but what we got is what we got, so moving on. Next, we have the bar that controls the height adjustment for the front wheels. It's controlled by the previous lever that I mentioned, and you really don't need to worry about it, but it's just handy to know what it is. Directly behind the height adjustment bar, we have a tag. The tag is comprised of paper and has a glossy finish. It is held in place via a type of zip tie. The tag has information on how to start the mower, as well as warnings and safety information. It will not provide long hours of reading, however. You will be confined to about a minute worth of reading. Next, we have the 4 wheels. The wheels are strictly push wheels. There are no self-propelling features of any kind in this mower, and quite frankly, you really don't need it. This is a fairly light mower and it does not take much power in order to push it. And underneath the mower, we have the 18-inch cutting blade, as well as the protection flap to protect your legs from any debris coming out the back, as well as the side discharge port. Replacement blades for the mower will cost $18.97 at time of recording. The mower itself will cost $200 with a 4 amp hour battery, plus tax. Or $189 tool only, which I would not recommend doing unless you're really bad with your money. Size-wise, it is definitely smaller than the previous Ryobi mower which I reviewed, which was the RY401100. So it's definitely a lighter weight mower. And the build quality isn't quite as good as the other mower which I reviewed either. I know I talked a little bit already about how the side discharge chute and how it's held on is not very robust and probably could use a redesign. However, the handles which you hold in order to keep the mower running, they're not robust in any sense of the word. They're very plasticky, they're very wobbly, and they're just not very thick. It's not like the old days where you had a metal bar which you held in against another metal bar, and you could pretty much like ding it up, bang it up, or whatever you wanted to do with it, and it would still work just fine. Nowadays, everything is plastic and you have to be way more careful than you used to be. However, one benefit of it being made out of plastic is that it's fairly lightweight. And using my highly scientific, super state-of-the-art scale, we can see that it weighs a little bit over 40 pounds, which is actually pretty good for a mower. Now here are some videos of how it looks and how it sounds in operation. Okay, enough of the shaky cam. Let's talk a little bit about the mower. The mower's handled most of the things I threw at it fairly well, and made it through most of the things that I need to cut fairly easily. Keep in mind that I don't have a nice lawn or anything like that. What we have is well, weeds and buffalo grass and native grass. So it's really kind of a mixed bag for what I can cut. Now, it was able to get through everything pretty much without turning off most of the time. But there were a few moments where it would turn off because it just got too bogged down in some of the grass that I was cutting. And I think it did it a little more often than the brushless model that I reviewed previously. So this isn't going to be as powerful, and your run times aren't going to be as good either because you're dealing with a brushed mower. So that's just something else to keep in mind. Now talking run times, I was getting anywhere in between 22 minutes and 26 minutes using a 4 amp hour battery, which isn't horrible, but at the same time it's really not anything to write home about either. It's about standard for these kinds of mowers. Now I did notice while using it in the mulching mode that it did have a few more shutdowns than when I was using it in the side discharge mode, which is to be expected with a 40 volt mower. 40 volts just isn't enough to really be able to mulch stuff super efficiently, and the fact that it's using a brush motor and not a brushless motor means it's going to suffer in this kind of field or in this sort of grass, to say the least. So if you're going to be buying this to mulch stuff, don't get your hopes too high. It works fairly well in the side discharging mode, but that's to be expected when you're releasing the grass clippings and you're allowing the blade to spin faster. Your mower will do a better job, so that's to be expected. And honestly, the best way to describe this mower is average. There really is no outstanding features. There really is nothing spectacular that will change your world. It's just an average budget mower. Although I will say that the budget really is not that big of a budget if you really think about it in the long term. Because the mower is only an 18-inch mower and not a 20-inch mower, it's going to take more time to cut that yard. Now, 2 inches may not sound like a whole lot, but it does add up, and eventually you're going to be spending more time cutting your yard than doing what you want to do. So it's just another one of those little things to consider when you're looking at this mower. If you have a larger yard, I definitely would not recommend this mower because it's just going to take forever to do anything. If you just need to do some touch-up mowing or you have a smaller yard, this mower should work fine as long as you don't need to bag any of the grass clippings. And if you're dealing with really heavy weeds or brush or anything else that you need to mow down, this is definitely not a mower for you. It just doesn't have the power that you need to be able to get through some of that thicker foliage that you might need to cut. It's definitely a budget mower for a budget yard, if you know what I mean. Now, what makes this mower so hard to recommend is not that it's a bad mower. No, it's a fairly decent little mower. The problem is that the upgraded mower, or the next mower in the lineup, the more expensive mower, is only $50 more expensive. Now, $50 might sound like a significant price difference, but it's not really if you think about it. The more expensive mower, or the next model up, comes with a brushless motor, which will give you that sticker that you've always wanted that says brushless, and it will also give you that added benefit of having a 6 amp hour battery instead of the 4 amp hour battery, which will also give you a longer run time. And the fact that the next model up is a 20-inch mower and not an 18-inch mower means you'll be able to finish your jobs quicker. I also noticed with the 20-inch model that it did a better job of getting through thicker grass or thicker weeds, so you'll also have that added benefit. Really, the only thing that the more expensive motor is lacking that this one has that one can't do is its ability to have the side discharge port. The more expensive mower doesn't have the ability to have the side discharge, which is kind of a shame because that really is a useful function, and it's something that I personally would use a whole lot more if it had a side discharge port. So if you need to have a side discharge port, this is the mower for you. If you don't mind bagging your grass, the other mower is definitely the way to go in every other situation. The other mower will do a better job of mulching the grass, and it will also do a better job of cutting the grass, and you'll get a longer run time. Not to mention that you'll be able to finish your jobs quicker. So that's what makes this mower kind of hard to recommend. So let's do a quick recap of the pros and cons. Lightweight. This mower is fairly lightweight, coming in at around 40 pounds. Because this mower is so lightweight, It makes it a whole lot easier when you need to transport it, say, to a grandparent's yard, or if you need to store it in an area of your garage where you wouldn't be able to store an old gas guzzler mower. So definitely a pro when it comes to weight. 40 volt. In my opinion, 40 volt batteries are about the perfect size to price ratio for outdoor power equipment. It's not too lightweight and it's not too heavy either. It'll give you enough power to be able to get through your job without making you super tired. And it's also a lot cheaper than, say, some of those 56 or 80 volt batteries that are on the market. So in my opinion, 40 volt is definitely a good way to go for outdoor power equipment. Runtime. The average runtime that I was getting with this mower with the included 4 amp hour battery was about 24 minutes. Sometimes it would be a little bit more, sometimes it would be a little bit less. It just depends on what you're cutting. Other factors, if you decide to use other batteries, will be how old the battery is, how big the battery is, that sort of thing. But with the included 4 amp hour battery, the runtime was 24 minutes. Side discharge port. The side discharge port is a super useful feature, and it's one that I wish the more expensive mower had, but it doesn't. But this one does. So it's definitely a pro for this mower. Foldable. Foldable mowers are nothing new. They've been around forever. However, when you couple it with the fact that it's battery operated and it's also so lightweight, means that you'll be able to transport this in more vehicles and you'll be able to store it in more spots in your house or in your garage, say up in the attic or in a crawl space. So it's definitely a pro for this mower. And first in the meh category, and also the only thing in the meh category, we have the brushed motor. It's not really a pro, it's not really a con. The runtime is decent, and it has enough power to get through most stuff, so it's just an average motor. And first in the con category, we have price. It's not a bad price. $200 isn't bad, but it's not good either, considering that the upgraded or the more expensive model has more features and will just do a better job. So that's personally why I decided to put this in the con category. If it was, say, $150, it would not be in this category, but it isn't. It's $200, so that's why it's in the con category. And last but not least, we have build quality. The build quality isn't horrible, but it's not really that good either. It's really average. And there's just a few pieces on this mower that really should be made out of metal that are made out of plastic that are really hampering the build quality. Ryobi has a tendency of doing this, and a lot of companies other than Ryobi do this too. It would just be nice if they would make some of the pieces that are detachable made out of metal, that way that you wouldn't have to worry about them breaking every 5 seconds. So that's really the biggest downside to this mower, is the build quality. Final thoughts on this mower. It's hard to recommend simply because of the price. It's a little bit too expensive to easily recommend, and honestly, for another $50, you'll be able to get a much better mower with a bigger cutting deck, a better battery, and just a better build quality. So that's honestly the route I would go. This isn't a bad mower, don't get me wrong, but unless you don't mind just doing the side discharge port all the time, that's really the only way this is a usable mower. The mulching mode just isn't powerful enough with the 40 volt battery system and the brush motor, so it's just not really worth it for that. So if it was up to me, I'd get the more powerful brushless model and just give this one a pass. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.